Hello and welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast YouTube channel. My name is Sam and this is week 2 of our F1 fantasy show. In this episode, we're going to be looking back at how we did in Bahrain, talking about price changes and looking ahead to this weekend's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, going through Matt's teams and any alternatives that he might look to swap in before the deadline. Before anything else, let's introduce the aforementioned Matt, joining us all the way from sunny Portugal. It's our fancy expert, Matt Collier. Matt, how are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Sam. A lot better than last week. And how are you doing?
Yeah, all good, thanks. I bet you're feeling a lot better with the heat of Portugal at the moment. First of all, let's look back to Bahrain and see where we sit in the Scenario 7 podcast fancy table. First of all, if you would like to join our league, it is not too late. The code is on our screen now. And starting with the person at the top of the league, and we are very disappointed to announce that it is the Scenario 7 podcast very own Joe Roberts on 283 points. It's a stellar effort from Joe. Next up, I'm going to go to me. And after week 1, I'm in 11th with 229 points. And I'm not going to lie, after week 1, bear in mind, there's currently 69 people in our league. To sit in 11th, I'm pretty happy with it. So solid week, 229 points, definitely more than I'd hoped for. And now to you, Matt. You are sitting in joint 28th with 187 points, which after week 1 I feel is solid. But are you happy with that number?
It was looking a lot better until both the Red Bulls switch their engines off. The fact that I think my constructor team only got 4 points is kind of says it all, really.
Yeah, no, it's not ideal. Let's go through your team to see what you're talking about there. And the team is on screen now that you selected. Made a few changes from last week, made a few tinkers, I'm guessing, after seeing practice and seeing different rumours anyway. So first of all, Valtteri Bottas, he was not in your team that you selected last time, but we did talk about him as someone you could potentially swap in. He got 22 points. Checo Perez, another one swapped in, got 4 points. Kevin Magnussen got very impressive 27. Carlos Sainz got 32. Charles Leclerc was your turbo driver and got 98. And finally, the constructor was Red Bull, who got you 4. Talk us through what went right and what went wrong with last week's selection. I mean, I think it's pretty clear what went wrong.
It's quite clear what went wrong, and that is Red Bull. It was looking all good from like the 45th lap. Then it all kind of just fell apart. I kind of didn't want to put all my eggs in one basket with Ferrari, but from hindsight, I think I definitely should have done that. Bottas and Magnussen were great picks. I was kind of sandbagging a little bit from my first team, so I always knew I wanted to have Bottas and Magnussen in, but yeah, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gone for a double Red Bull, maybe just the one Red Bull.
Yeah, Red Bull really didn't help you this week. So there have been a number of price fluctuations heading into the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at the time of recording. Of course, they could all change because of how different the market is to every other fancy market, and the fact that they could change. Was it every hour? Is it?
Every hour they could change.
Yeah, changing every hour, which is crazy. So just to reinforce, this is the changes at the time of recording. So first of all, let's look at the drivers. So they are on screen now is last week's prices, and now they will change to the updated prices at the time of recording. Matt, what stands out to you from the drivers?
Well, Bottas has already gone up 0.2, and I expect him to go up more when we get to the race weekend. Kevin Magnussen has gone up 0.3, so it's looking good in terms of price and squad value from the start of my season. And there's also been a few price drops as well, for example, McLaren. But yeah, I'm happy with my team's squad value at the moment.
Yeah, well, now to the constructors. Same as the drivers on screen is last week's prices, and here are the updated constructors' prices. Any interesting changes to the constructors?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think Alfa Romeo, I think, have increased in price. They're currently 8.2 million from their original 8 million. Ferrari have also increased in price from 25.0 to 25.3. So yeah, there's a lot of price changes, but the big drop in price is McLaren, down 0.4 million already, and I think that'll be dropping quite a lot as people see that they've got a lot of work to do. So yeah, they're the main price changes for constructor teams.
Yeah, they are looking pretty poor after race one, so there's definitely potential for them to drop even more. It's time to look at your team that you're going to be rocking with this week. First of all, we need to preface this with it is subject to change. Matt, you're a tinkerer. Up to practice, up to the deadline, you'll be making your changes. And last week shows that this probably won't be the final team, but this is the team that you've got now. First of all, Valtteri Bottas keeps his place from last week, sitting at 9.2 million at the time of recording, which is Wednesday. This comes out on Friday, so again, subject to change. P6 in Bahrain, why have you kept him in your team?
I think their car looks really, really good. It kind of reminds me of like a Haas a few years back when they first started, punching above their weight. And yeah, for the price that he is, and out qualifying Mercedes in his first race of the season, kind of says how good value Bottas is.
Yeah, I mean, I have actually swapped Valtteri Bottas in this week for Yuki Tsunoda. Even though Tsunoda did get me some good points last week, I did swap in Bottas. So hopefully he gets another good result in Saudi Arabia. Now on to the first change. And George Russell is coming into your team for Checo Perez, sitting at 24 million. Why did you make the swap?
Probably because of the Red Bulls. I was just like a bit angry. No, I'll have to say over the weekend. I'm not sure with Red Bull's reliability, but at the same time, also not really sure about the Mercedes power. So it all really comes down to practice. But I think the Mercedes will improve, and I think their reliability is better than Red Bull. So that's why I've swapped Perez and Russell around.
Yeah, very interesting, but subject to change, of course. My driver of the day in Bahrain, and that being Kevin Magnussen, priced at 5.8 million. We talked about him lots last week. We had him on the thumbnail. We knew he was going to be an excellent buy for your team. Do you think that he could be in your team potentially all year? And why have you kept him in your team?
Yeah, we had him in the thumbnail. I said how undervalued he was. And yeah, I think he'll definitely stay in my team for a lot of this season. Even if Haas's development slows down, I still think his price point, being the cheapest at the start when I first bought him, will still be worth it. And yeah, Magnussen is just a brilliant option. They looked really good in Bahrain, and yeah, I expect them to get quite a few more points over this season.
Yeah, we now move on to a wave of red, starting with Carlos Sainz, second last week, despite it being his toughest weekend at Ferrari. That's what he said after the race. 17.1 million. Why are you sticking with him?
Ferrari just look so strong, and they look very undervalued, in my opinion. And yeah, they could easily win the constructors with a few other teams. So yeah, that's why I've kept Carlos Sainz in my team.
Yeah, I suspect it's a similar story for the man of the moment, Charles Leclerc. He is the final driver in your team. Last week's race winner, the first race winner of the 2022 season, 18.3 million getting a price rise. Do you think he is a big contender for the Drivers' Championship? And why are you keeping him?
Yeah, I do. In my prediction video, I said that Leclerc would finish second, and that it would kind of be a close fight between first and second for the Drivers' Championship, a bit like Hamilton versus Vettel in the Ferrari. And yeah, I think I've got to keep Leclerc. He just looks so strong and such a good pick for a turbo driver each week as well. So that's why I've kept Leclerc.
Yeah, you've just reminded me. He is your turbo driver, of course, this week, and he was your turbo driver last week. Time for the constructor and completing a hat trick of red, priced at 25.3 million. Ferrari have been bought in for Red Bull. It seems like you've just got a really big agenda with Red Bull with the changes you've made. But why did you make that change?
I was also quite lucky when I made the change. They didn't quite apply the price changes, so I managed to. At the time I got Ferrari for 25 million, so I've already banked 0.3. And yeah, as I've explained earlier, I think Red Bull's reliability doesn't look promising. Even Pierre Gasly is Honda power unit. Both Red Bulls obviously retired. So yeah, I think Ferrari just looked like such a strong pick, and yes, why I've chosen them.
Yeah, they are certainly looking very strong. We've gone through your team, but who are some alternatives that you're looking to potentially swap in before the deadline, and the people at home should consider putting in their teams?
Yeah, there's a few alternatives I picked out. Mick Schumacher at 6.5. I think Haas is got a competitive car this season. He was only, I think, one place off from scoring points, and I think he definitely has the potential scoring points in the next race. Another alternative driver is Guan Zhou, who did score points in his first Grand Prix in F1, priced at 8 million. I think Alfa Romeo have got a very competitive car. And should I go on to some constructor
Yeah, go for
alternatives?
constructors as well.
Yeah, another alternative on the theme of Alfa Romeo is actually their constructors. 8.2 million at the time of recording. If you look at the price of McLaren and Alfa Romeo, you kind of want to almost switch those prices, because McLaren are heavily overpriced and Alfa Romeo are heavily underpriced. So yeah, Alfa Romeo could be a good option for constructors, and he can spend the funds elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at Haas's price, and that is also very low. Is that a similar story to Alpha, in the fact that if you want to spend more on your drivers, that Haas is looking a very strong constructor?
Yeah, exactly. I think when I was talking about the constructor picks, we had no idea which ones were going to be the best valued, and these new regulations have spiced up the teams that didn't do well last season. So yeah, Haas look like a top midfield team at the moment, and yeah, their price is very, very cheap. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a case of the teams with a Ferrari power unit look at putting in your team, because that power unit looks very strong, especially compared to the Red Bull and Mercedes unit. But yeah, that wraps up our video. First of all, Matt has joined us from his holiday in Portugal. He's taken his time out. We've found a time on Wednesday to record this. So Matt, thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your relaxing holiday.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Sam. It's always a pleasure to share a Zoom call with you. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it really has been. To the people at home, I hope you found it helpful. A reminder that the deadline for changes is an hour before qualifying, so get your team finalised by then. Remember to like and subscribe. Follow us on our socials. They are linked down below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.